Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of our portal gun tutorial series where we jump into Blender for materials, lighting and final render. If you haven't seen part 1 where we model everything in Fusion 360, I definitely recommend checking that out first. But if you're just here for the Blender side, no worries. You can grab the OBJ file straight from my GrabCAD page or Gumroad page. The links in the description. I've also included links for all free software and add-ons used in this tutorial. And with that being said, let's jump into the video. Right, I'm opening a fresh Blender file and I'll get rid of this default cube and we can start importing our parts from Fusion 360. Wavefront object, select the location and pull in all the files with the .obj extension. 1, 2, 3, there we go. I'll import these in and just like that we have our portal gun. I'll set the orientation first by hitting R and X to move it along x-axis. 75 or negative 75 should do. Perfect. Let me scale this down a bit. Something like that. So 0.3 maybe. Perfect. And just like that, we have our portal gun in Blender, and you can see we have three parts: the first metal part, and then the glass parts, and the button. And we can start working with applying materials, but let me just get rid of these default materials from Fusion 360. I'll start off with the metal part. Let me open up my Blender kit and we'll go to materials and look for the similar material that we used for the Pokeball white part. So some white metal worn out. And there you go. And before we apply, maybe we can shift to, let's say, viewport render just to have a preview if the material is being applied right. And I'll pull this in, and just like that we have that worn metal look right straight out of the box. Moving on to the glass parts, let me switch to shading workspace and we'll get rid of this. I'll zoom this in. I'll start by creating a new material and let's rename this to glass to keep things clean. You can see we have two nodes here. I'll get rid of this first one and we'll have to replace this by hitting Shift A and search for a glass shader node. Yeah, glass BSDF, that will do. Let me plug this in and there you go. We have our material applied. Let me change this color to add a tint of green. I know it doesn't really look great. We'll switch to viewport render and let's make it look way more realistic. I'll have to change the render engine from Eevee to cycles and switch to GPU. Perfect. And there you go. Looks way better, and we can move on to the button. I'll move to layout workspace, select the button geometry and start by creating a new simple material. Let me place this right. All right. We'll start by changing the base color to something really dark. Yeah, that should do. Roughness seems fine. Just I can think maybe we can pull it up a little bit. Let's say 0.6. I don't want to change the IOR, but I want to add some subsurface scattering to this material to simulate how light reacts to plastic and rubber material. It'll make it look way more realistic. Perfect. And with that, we can move on to start working on the screen. I'll select the metal part and hit Tab to enter edit mode. Let's go to top view and I'll have to select the faces that form the screen. I'll have to switch to face select and I'll hold shift and select both these faces that form the screen. All right, perfect. And we'll move to materials and I'll create a new material here. And we'll rename this to screen just to keep everything clean and add that red, something deeper. Yeah, that should do. And hit assign and you can see that the material is applied just for the selection and we have two materials applied to the same part like that. And I'll switch back to OBJ, object mode, and we can add some emission to make it look way more realistic. Let me make this color a little darker. Perfect. And that looks way better. 0.5 should do. Perfect. And just like that, we are done applying the base material for our portal gun. Now we can start working on the background elements. Let's start by adding in a mesh plate. All right, I'll have to adjust its position. Let me hit side view and we'll have to pull this down. I'll hit GZ, pull this down till about there. Perfect. Now we can scale this up. Whoa, I really like the way it pops out the metal material with the reflection from floor. Maybe we can scale it up a bit. Something like that. All right, now I'll enter view, camera view by hitting 0 on numpad. All right, the lighting is really monotonous. Maybe we can add another area light. Let me do that. Area light. All right, we'll have to pull this in Z direction now. All right, there. And I'll scale this up. And we'll definitely have to raise the power to say about 100 watts. Perfect. I like the way everything looks way lit now. And also we can play around with the default light to create those shadows. I'm happy with the way it looks. Let's just arrange the camera location now. I'll do that by selecting the camera window and hitting shift and backtick the button under escape. And I'll just arrange the camera to whichever position you feel right. I think we can do isometric front view, something like this, or no, maybe I just. And meanwhile, I noticed that we haven't really finished applying materials. We missed a spot there, the black inside wall. First, I'll select the material and hit tab to enter edit mode. Perfect. We are in material preview mode and we have to do the same thing that we did with the screen. Let's just hide this plane for a while so it doesn't interrupt us. All right. You can see we have quite some faces, but it shouldn't be that hard. We'll just have to select these faces and assign the material only to these faces. Yeah, shouldn't be that hard. So we are already in face select mode and let me just zoom in and create a box select to select most of these. Perfect. We'll change the orientation and okay, we have two more faces. I'll hit shift and just click on both these faces and just like that we have the internal wall selected. I will start by creating a new material and maybe we can reuse, yeah, we can reuse the button material. It has the same properties. Assign and perfect. All right, let me just exit the edit mode and enter render viewport mode and maybe we can bring back the plane. Perfect. You can see the material has been applied, but I don't know, man. Like, I like the way this glass on the top looks, but I'm not really happy with the look of these three bulbs on the bottom. Or maybe we can work on this once we are done applying material to the blob inside the glass, something like the portal fluid. And we'll do that by hitting Shift A and pulling in some sphere geometry. Let's say icosphere. Perfect. All right, let me just scale this down. I mean, it doesn't really matter because we'll add a displacement modifier and then we'll have to scale it down either way, but just to make it easier to work with. Something like that. All right. Let me just hit side view and pull this up so that we get to see what the modifiers, how the modifier is changing the geometry. All right, that should do. We'll start by adding the modifiers, but let me just get rid of these first. All right, I'll start with the subdivide modifier first, just to make it a little smooth. Perfect. All right, now for the second modifier, we'll hit displacement. Perfect. I'll start by adding in a new texture and let me select this pill icon so we can select clouds noise. Perfect. You can see the noise preview here. Let's play around with the size so that we'll modify the shape of the geometry. Let me go the other way. All right. 1.9. Yeah, that should do. Now you can play around with these settings and till you get that perfect blob shape. I'm happy with the way it looks. Let me just scale this down and pull this in. Nice. Yeah, that should work. You can again play with these shapes to get no more defined shape or something you're happy with. I'm happy with the way the blob looks and maybe we'll hit the front. I mean, let's just open front view to see if the blob's inside the vessel. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's poking out. Or maybe we can even change the view to material preview. There you go. Because it's not transparent anymore, it's easier to spot if the blob is poking out of the glass material, which it's not. So good. Let's go back and we can start modifying the material for this icosphere. I'll start by adding in a new material and we'll rename this as say green glow. All right, straight to the point. Let me just change the base color and we'll add an emission. Emission color will be green. Perfect. And let's just play around with 0.5. Can see it looks quite realistic. I mean, I'm happy with the shadow it creates on metal, but yeah, we'll later just pull it in onto all these three bulbs. But let me just increase the emission first. Yeah, we can go all the way to 1. I'm selecting the glass parts now and I hit tab to enter edit mode. And now we have to do the same thing we did for the screen. We'll have to just select these three and let me hide the other parts. All right. Let me hit the side button. And here you can select the X-ray mode and just create a box select. And there you can see all three bulbs are selected. And now I'll do the same, create a new material. Before we hit assign, I'll just have to select the material that we just created, green glow. Perfect. All right, and let's just hit assign, and that should do the job. It's not very clear, but let's just exit edit mode, and there you go. Let me bring these back, and whoa, that looks really good with the reflection and all. And you can see this in the camera view. I'm really happy with the way this looks. Perfect. And now I'll select all the portal gun parts, including icosphere, and just hit R and Z to rotate this along Z axis. It looks way more dynamic, and we get to see a lot more of portal gun this way. Perfect. I'll also move this plane backwards. So let me just hit G and Y to move this along Y direction about there. Yeah, that should do. All right, before we start rendering, maybe we can create an infinite background. And to do that, I'll just select this plane and enter edit mode. And this time we'll use edge select. I'll want to select the edge in the background. Let me just exit the camera view. All right, the edge is selected. So I'll hit E and Z to extrude only in Z direction and pull it up till there. We'll reselect this edge and I'll hit Control B to create a bevel. You can use the scroll button to increase or decrease the number of sections. And once you're happy, just exit edit mode, right click and hit shade smooth to create that smooth look. Perfect. All right, I'm happy. We're pretty much done. And before we start rendering, I'll have to cover this gap up. So I'll just select the plane, hit S and X to scale it up in X direction. And there you go. Let me just zoom in on to the portal gun. We have a lot of empty space. Okay. Yeah, that looks fine. And now we're almost done. I'll just have to render this by hitting F12. And while the image is loading, I've added the preview to my next tutorial, that is part 3, where I'll be working on the same portal gun and animating it to the opening score of Rick and Morty. And if you like what you see, make sure to check out the link in the description to check the YouTube short, where you can see this animation to the opening score with the sound. And that's a wrap for part 2. I hope the tutorial was easy to follow through and help you learn something new today. Huge thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. It really means a lot. If you enjoyed the video and want more content like it, consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next one. I hope you have a great day and I'll see you in the next tutorial.